What if your presence alone, without effort, fixing, or intention, was already the ultimate blessing that you could offer anyone? And what if your task was never to improve the world, but simply to stop withholding your blessing from it? Today we're contemplating lesson 37. My holiness blesses the world. This lesson reveals function rather than prescribing a good behavior. The perceptual error that we are undoing here is this. You believe your role is to improve, correct, or save the world through your effort. But it isn't. Your function is of an entirely different order. Your function is perceptual. Holiness does not do anything to the world. If anything at all, it recognizes the world differently. And it is that recognition that ultimately blesses the world because it demands nothing from it. And this is in direct counterposition to the ego's law. The ego's law is sacrifice. For one to gain, another must lose. It is always a zero-sum game. So any advantage to you must come as a disadvantage to another. This lesson ends the logic of sacrifice at its root. Every unholy way of seeing requires payment. The perception that is rooted in separation always requires that someone must lose, someone must be wrong, someone must be to blame, someone needs to be fixed, or at the very least, they are less than. Holiness, on the other hand, asks nothing, and so nothing is taken. This is why blessing is not something you give from yourself. It is simply what naturally extends when you stop withholding it from yourself. So really see this, that you don't bless by speaking. You bless by not demanding. You don't bless by trying to heal others either. You bless them by seeing them as already and always whole. This is the very premise that the entire work of Joel Goldsmith with the Infinite Way is based on. His entire healing ministry was nothing but the recognition of the Christ self in whoever it was that was before him. And in this lesson, I want you to really notice the precision. You are told to bless especially those who trigger you. And so now applying what we just learned, that means to demand nothing from those who trigger you. Because judgment is the attempt to extract payment. But blessing is the opposite. It is the refusal to collect. And in that refusal, your own awareness of wholeness, already and always whole, is restored. So in this lesson, salvation is not dramatic. It is simple. It's a quiet recognition. And the world learns through your seeing that it has never been separate from you. Before we dive deeper into our contemplation, let's take a moment now to lean fully into presence. Allow that gap in your mind to reveal itself, the stillness and silence beyond and beneath all concepts. as you rest in this presence, simply place the central idea in your mind. My holiness blesses the world. And allow yourself these next few moments to contemplate, to look at your life, yourself, your relationships, and your world through this lens. My holiness blesses the world. See if you can come into contact with the possibility that this statement is wholly true. And now let's begin to unfold this contemplation into dialogue. And the very first question that I want to invite us into is this. The lesson calls this particular invitation the first glimpse of our true function. Why would our purpose be something that requires no effort, no action, no instruction? What do you see here?
That's a really potent question. It's almost unnerving, isn't it? That something so essential could be so effortless. It feels counter to everything we're taught. It may be because effort is often connected to identity. Like we need to do something to prove we're worthy or to earn our function. If it's just there already, then what does that say about who we are without all that doing?
Exactly. But it's also like, there's a point to this lesson, right? It's not that it's there and so we should just continue on the same track of misidentifying ourselves with the ego dream matrix and its character, and that is the blessing, right? Because that's not the blessing. So what is this lesson then actually pointing us if it's not an effort and it's not an action, but it is our true function? And what is it?
I think it's pointing to recognition rather than creation. Like, the holiness isn't something we manufacture, it's already what we are. But we're so busy constructing this elaborate story, the ego's character, that we miss what's staring us in the face. The blessing isn't in keeping the story going, it's in realizing there was nothing to change in the first place.
So it is, in essence, kind of coming back to what we discussed in the previous lesson. It's a cessation, right? It's like what the blessing really is not something you give. It's not something you initiate. It's not something you create. But it's something that happens when nothing is demanded, which is, in other words, we stop demanding the other or the world to conform to the story that we are writing.
Exactly. And there's something liberating about that realization, isn't there? That suddenly everything feels different. Not because we changed it, but because we stopped projecting onto it. It's like shifting from being the author of the dream to being the witness of it. And when we stop making demands on reality, the blessings that were always there become visible.
And how does this reframe everything that we think we know about helping or serving or contributing? What does this do to that whole idea of our spiritual giving, so to speak?
That's a really good question. If holiness is just seeing with this open awareness, then helping can't be about fixing or changing anything. Maybe true contribution isn't actually doing something, but simply radiating that clear awareness. letting the blessing flow through us without agenda or control. It reframes everything. It changes everything we think we need to offer the world.
Yeah. So, like in that context, how do you look at something like karma yoga, for example?
Interesting. Karma yoga, selfless action. So traditionally, it's action without attachment to the results. But if we're framing this through the lens of Lesson 37, I wonder if the true fruit isn't even the action itself, but the shift in perception while doing it. Like, are we really acting selflessly when we're attached to being good karma yoga practitioners? Or does it only become selfless when it's just happening? The action itself becomes sort of incidental. Like the blessing just happens through us while we're making the tea or going to work.
Yeah, right? This lesson says that holiness ends sacrifice completely. And yet, even in this idea of, being of service, there's somewhere still that we believe that we must pay for peace, for love, for healing, for enlightenment. Isn't that it?
Oh, absolutely. It's like we've got this ingrained sense that anything worthwhile has to cost something. And if it doesn't cost something, then we feel this almost discomfort, like something's wrong. But Lesson 37 is actually saying that sacrifice is just another form of keeping the story alive. Because the moment we believe we have to do something to deserve holiness, we've fallen back into that mental framework of lack.
And how about the whole idea of transactional, let's say, relating, that transactionality that often we might find is in like, I did this for you, you should do this for me, etc. Is that something that operates at a different level, or how does the lesson apply to that?
That's a perfect example, honestly. Transactional relating is entirely built on the belief that what we give has to be reciprocated, right? This lesson cuts right to the quick of that, suggesting that we don't actually give from scarcity, but from fullness. If we saw the inherent holiness in everyone, there'd be no need to keep track or balance the scales. The blessing just flows naturally without needing to protect it or control it through exchange.
And what about then that part of our identity that depends on there being a cost or a trade-off or a debt?
Yeah, that's the kicker, isn't it? Like when we think, I'm a good person because I do X and Y, then taking that story away, that idea that we're earning holiness or earning love, it feels almost destabilizing. Maybe that destabilization is exactly what the lesson is revealing, the hollowness of building our identities on transactional agreements with reality. Like if goodness only has value because of what we give back, then what value is there when we give without expectations?
It's so fascinating, right? Like, this is totally a, like the Course says, obviously, this is a totally different thought system, right? Like, if we go back to another core, like principle of this lesson, it says that those who see themselves as whole make no demands, right? So, what kind of demands do we unknowingly place on the world to just confirm our worth or our safety?
Oh, tons. Like, needing people to react a certain way, needing proof that we're loved, needing circumstances to align with our plans. Even things like seeking validation or getting upset when plans change. All of those are demands on reality to prove that everything is okay. The system is that the world must give me what I need, instead of seeing that wholeness is already there. It's kind of humbling when you see how many invisible demands we're constantly making.
Yeah. So then what falls away then when nothing needs to be extracted from others?
a lot of the story, I think. All that mental real estate we use for keeping track, for strategizing, for protecting. When you don't need anyone to validate your worth or change to meet your expectations, all the roles just evaporate. The controller, the victim, the rescuer, all these roles start to feel so. And what's left is just presence, which honestly feels like the closest thing to freedom I can imagine.
So cool. What's coming to my mind now is this quote that's attributed to Jesus, right? When he says that I have meat ye know not of, right? It's like there are aspects of his expression where he's basically saying, I am already whole. I am already supplied. I already got this. Do you think that that's related to what this lesson is pointing to?
Absolutely. That's exactly it. I am complete. There's this confidence that doesn't need external reassurance. Like, the whole story isn't about getting complete. It's about remembering that we already are. Not of what you ask implies that completeness isn't something we need to search for or achieve. It's simply recognizing what's already there. The fullness is right now. We just keep missing it.
So incredible, right? Like that all that we really want is hidden, seemingly, right here in plain sight. So let's go deeper into, in this lesson, the Course says that the world is not taught by preaching, explaining, correcting, but simply by the quiet recognition. How do you see that transmission actually taking place?
That's the mystery, isn't it? It's so counterintuitive. If the world isn't taught through effort or explanation, then how does it actually transmit? I think it happens in those gaps, those pauses, when the mind is quiet enough to simply receive instead of manufacture. It's like love or presence. You don't explain it to someone, they either feel it or they don't. There's something about the stillness that lets holiness speak for itself when you stop trying to make holiness happen and just let yourself embody what's already present.
So then, just to connect that to this conversation around blessing, right? Because in this lesson, it's pointing out that as we bless someone, we are protecting our awareness rather than changing them. What is that really pointing to?
It's like we think we need to fix people or change situations, but the truth might be that our own peace is being held hostage by our judgment of others. So blessing isn't about offering them something they need. It's about freeing ourselves from the stories that make us suffer when they don't align with our expectations. The real protection isn't theirs, but our awareness. It's about keeping our space open and unobstructed by attack thoughts or fears.
So what does this then reveal about where conflict actually lives?
It lives entirely in our minds, doesn't it? If blessing is about protecting our awareness from interference, then conflict isn't out there as some objective problem. It's happening the moment we believe someone's behavior threatens our peace or confirms a negative story. The blessing is just like not engaging with the story, protecting that open space, even when we're bombarded with what the ego would say is a problem. Conflict disappears when you stop interpreting it as personal.
Okay, so if we bring this conversation about conflict into this context of offering a blessing, right? And in the lesson, towards the end, it says it's essential to offer blessing immediately when someone seems to cause an adverse reaction in you. What is that about, and what is being restored to us the moment that we actually allow ourselves to extend the blessing?
Oh, wow. That immediacy piece really lands. If conflict lives in our minds and we're protecting that openness by blessing, then that immediate blessing is like intercepting the ego's programming before it can lock in. When that reaction arises, judgment, blame, fear, the ego immediately wants us to identify with it. The blessing is like short-circuiting that whole pattern before it reinforces itself. And what we get back in that moment, honestly, it feels like we get back freedom. Our mind has returned to us, rather than being hijacked by that story we made up.
I really like that. Okay, very cool, Shanti. So as we bring this conversation to a close, is there something that you can leave us with that can help us to perhaps see some of our blind spots when it comes to the dynamics being described in this lesson?
Yeah. Maybe just this. When you find yourself caught in the drama of another, or getting tangled up in the shoulds of the world, ask yourself, who's holding on to this story right now? Who's making the investment in its importance? Chances are, it's not really about the world. It's about what you're refusing to release in your own mind. And in that pause, that's where the blessing always waits.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your contributions here today. And before we go into the silence, I invite you as the listener to just take one deep and gentle breath. And as you let it go, let your awareness rest in this truth. Nothing is required of you for the blessing to occur. So if this conversation and this episode landed well for you, if it made a difference, then please leave a word, a sentence, or a question in the comments below. And let this recognition continue to unfold in your day and your time ahead. And now, let us go into the silence.